Hello everyone. Welcome to the Mind Map Academy. Today, we are going to talk about Chapter 4 of Class 9 Political Science book. The title of the chapter is Working of Institutions. This chapter will help us understand how our government is organized and functions. Let's get started. In this chapter, we will cover 4 main topics. Political institutions, Legislature, Executive, Judiciary. These are the key parts of our government, and we'll learn how each one works and why they are important. The first topic is political institutions. First, let's talk about political institutions. These are the structures and systems that help our country function smoothly. In India, we have 3 main political institutions. The Legislature. This body is responsible for making laws. At central level in India, Legislature is called Parliament, and it consists of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and President. The Executive. This group is responsible for implementing or enforcing laws made by Legislature. Executive is also called Government. The members of executive can be divided into parts: political executive and permanent executive. The Judiciary. This institution interprets the laws made by Legislature and ensures that these laws are applied correctly by executive. In India, Judiciary consists of Supreme Court, High Courts, and District Courts. Now, an important question must have come to your mind. What is the need to understand political institutions? Understanding political institutions is important because they make decisions that affect our daily lives. Let's take a real-life example to understand this better. On 13 August 1990, the Government of India issued an office memorandum. This order stated that, in addition to scheduled castes, SC, and scheduled tribes, 27% job reservation benefits would be given to a new category called Socially and Educationally Backward Classes, SEBC. Only persons belonging to backward classes were eligible for this quota. When the office memorandum was issued, it sparked a heated debate. Some people felt it was unfair as it would deny equal opportunities to those not belonging to backward communities. Others believed it would provide fair opportunities to communities that were previously underrepresented in government jobs. This issue was resolved by the Supreme Court in the Indira Sahne and others versus Union of India case in 1992, where the judges declared the order valid. Since then, this policy has been followed. You might be excited to know which political institutions were involved in issuing this memorandum. After studying this chapter, you will gain understanding of different political institutions and will be able to answer this question. In the previous example of office memorandum, you came to know that political institutions play very important function. Now, you might have another question in your mind: what is the need of political institutions? Political institutions are essential because they ensure that decisions are made carefully and thoughtfully. Here are some key points about the need for political institutions. First, political institutions are arrangements made in modern democracies to perform various functions. For example, Legislature make laws for the country. Executive implement these laws, and Judiciary ensures that these laws are valid and implemented correctly. Second, political institutions involve meetings, committees, and routines. It ensures that a wider set of people are consulted before decisions are made. Third, the benefit of these political institutions is that they make it difficult to rush through a bad decision, ensuring decisions are well thought out. Hence, these political institutions make sure that every important decision of the country is made after detailed discussion, and mistakes, if any, in the decision-making, can be identified and corrected soon. In the next topic, we will study legislature in detail. Legislature is the political institution which is responsible for making laws. In India, at central level, Parliament is lawmaking body. Let us study different parts of Indian Parliament. The legislature in India consists of three main parts. The first part is Lok Sabha, which is also called House of the People. The members of Lok Sabha are directly elected by the people of India. They represent the common citizens and are responsible for making laws. The second part is Rajya Sabha, which is also called the Council of States. The members of Rajya Sabha are elected indirectly by the members of state legislative assemblies. They represent the states and perform special functions like protecting the interests of the states. The third part is President. Although the President is not a member of either house, all laws made in the houses come into effect only after receiving the President's assent. These three parts of Parliament play important role in lawmaking process. First, a bill is passed in both the houses independently. Then, the law comes into effect after the bill is signed by President. Now, let's discuss what are the functions performed by Parliament. Or in other words, why do we need a Parliament? The Parliament is essential for several reasons. First, lawmaking. The Parliament is the final authority for making laws in our country. This ensures that the laws reflect the will of the people. Second, support for decisions. The government can only make decisions with the support of the Parliament. This ensures that the government's decisions are backed by the representatives of the people. Third, control over finances. Parliament controls all the money that the government has. Without its approval, the government cannot use public funds. Fourth, forum for discussion. Parliament is the highest forum for discussing public issues and national policies. These discussions influence and shape government decisions and ensure that various viewpoints are considered. We have studied that Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha are two houses of Parliament. Now, we will study how members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha are elected. Let's first talk about how members of the Lok Sabha are elected. Members of the Lok Sabha are elected directly by the people. The entire country is divided into 543 parliamentary constituencies. And each constituency elects one member to the Lok Sabha. These elections are held every 5 years. The entire process of election, from dividing the country into constituencies to conducting of elections, is controlled by Election Commission of India. Next, we will understand how members of Rajya Sabha are elected. Members of the Rajya Sabha are elected indirectly. They are elected by the members of the state legislative assemblies. Each state is allocated a certain number of seats in the Rajya Sabha, depending on its population. The representatives in Rajya Sabha protect the interests of the states and perform various functions. Election Commission controls all aspects of Rajya Sabha elections and takes all steps to ensure free and fair elections. Now, let's move on to understand the differences between Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Here are some key differences between Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. First difference is that Lok Sabha has more power in financial matters. Any money-related bill can only be introduced in the Lok Sabha, and it has the final say on such bills. Second difference is that Lok Sabha controls the Council of Ministers. The Prime Minister and other ministers are responsible to the Lok Sabha. If the Lok Sabha passes a vote of no confidence, the entire government has to resign. The Rajya Sabha has no such power. The third difference is related to joint sittings. In case of disagreement between the two houses, a joint sitting is held. In such situations, the view of Lok Sabha usually prevails because it has more members. Hence, in many matters Lok Sabha has more power than Rajya Sabha. In the next topic, we will cover the executive or the government. The question is who all the parts of the executive are. The executive is responsible for implementing laws and policies made by the legislature. It consists of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is the head of the government and is appointed by the President. The President appoints the leader of the majority party or the coalition of parties that commands a majority in the Lok Sabha as Prime Minister. The Council of Ministers. These ministers are appointed by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister. They help in running various departments and implementing policies. Next one are permanent executives. These are civil servants appointed on a long-term basis. They assist the ministers in administration and ensure the smooth functioning of the government. In the next topic we will understand how Prime Minister and other ministers are appointed. President appoints the leader of the majority party or coalition in the Lok Sabha as the Prime Minister. If no party has a majority, the President can appoint a person most likely to secure majority support in the Lok Sabha. Prime Minister does not have a fixed tenure and remains in power as long as they have the majority support in the Lok Sabha. After the Prime Minister is appointed, the President appoints other ministers on the advice of the Prime Minister. These ministers are usually from the majority party or coalition in the Lok Sabha. Some of the ministers can also be appointed from Rajya Sabha by President on the advice of Prime Minister. A person who is not a member of Parliament can also become a minister, but they must be elected to one of the houses within 6 months of their appointment. Prime Minister has power to dismiss ministers. Prime Minister is the most powerful person in the government. Next, we will discuss the powers of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister holds significant powers in the government. The Prime Minister is the head of the government and chairs cabinet meetings. The Prime Minister has the power to dismiss ministers. If the Prime Minister resigns, the entire ministry must resign. The Prime Minister coordinates the work of different departments and ensures that the government runs smoothly. All ministers work under the leadership of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister distributes work among ministers. In case of disagreements between departments, the Prime Minister's decision is final. Now we will cover the political and permanent executives. There are two types of executives in the government: political executives and permanent executives. Ministers in the government are called political executives. Civil servants working in civil services are permanent executives. Political executives are elected by the people for a specific period. Permanent executives are civil servants appointed on a long-term basis, and they remain in their positions irrespective of changes in the government. The minister takes final decisions. Civil servants are experts and advises minister on all matters so that they can take better decisions. Minister is more powerful than the civil servant. The minister takes the final decisions and is accountable to the people for those decisions. Although the minister takes advice from civil servants, the ultimate responsibility lies with the minister. Next, let's discuss the Council of Ministers in detail. Council of Ministers is the official name of the body that includes all ministers. Its members are also called political executives. Council of Ministers include 3 types of ministers. The most important are cabinet ministers. These are usually top-level leaders of the ruling party and are in charge of major ministries like Home Ministry, Defense Ministry, Finance Ministry, etc. The next category is ministers of state with independent charge. These ministers are usually in charge of smaller ministries. The last category is Minister of State. These are junior ministers and not given independent charge of any ministry. They assist cabinet ministers or ministers of state with independent charge in their duties. All these ministers are appointed by President on the advice of Prime Minister. Prime Minister has power to dismiss these ministers. Now, these ministers need help of experts to perform their duties of respective ministries. Civil servants, which are also called permanent executives, play this role of experts. These civil servants are selected through competitive exams and are appointed on long-term basis. These civil servants are posted in all ministries or departments to assist ministers. The detail about Council of Ministers is listed here for your revision. Next, we will discuss the role and powers of the President. The President is not elected directly by the people. Members of Parliament and members of the legislative assemblies vote for the candidates who contest elections for the post of President. To win the election, a candidate for the President's post must receive a majority of votes from MPs and MLAs. Next, we will see some important facts about President of India. The President of India is the head of state and has several important roles and powers. The candidate, who gets majority of votes from MPs and MLAs, wins the election for the post of President. The President supervises the overall functioning of all the political institutions in India to ensure they operate in harmony to achieve the state's objectives. Next, let's talk about the powers of the President. The President has several significant powers. All governmental activities take place in the name of the President. All laws and major policy decisions of the government are issued in the name of the President. Major appointments like the Chief Justice of India, judges, election commissioners, governors, and ambassadors are made by the President. All international treaties and agreements are made in the name of the President. The President is the Supreme Commander of the Defence Forces of India. It is important to remember that the President exercises all these powers only on the advice of the Council of Ministers. In the next topic, we will study third important political institution of democracy: Judiciary. The most important feature of Indian judiciary is that it is integrated. Integrated judiciary means it consists of various levels of courts, with the Supreme Court at the top, followed by high courts at state level. And then there are district courts at district level. The Supreme Court supervises working of all courts in India. Its decisions are binding on all other courts. Next, we will study characteristics of judiciary. The judiciary in India has unique characteristics. All the courts at different levels in a country put together are called the judiciary and consists of SC, HC, district courts, lower courts. The Indian judiciary is an integrated system, meaning SC controls the judicial administration in the country. Its decisions are binding on all other courts of the country. The judiciary is independent, meaning it is not controlled by the legislature or the executive. Judges do not act according to the wishes of the government or the ruling party. Judges of the Supreme Court and High Courts are appointed by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister and in consultation with the Chief Justice of India, CJI. Once appointed, a judge can be removed only by an impeachment motion passed separately by the members of both houses of Parliament. No judge has been impeached in India. Now, let's discuss the powers of the judiciary. The judiciary in India has several important powers. First, the Supreme Court and High Courts have the power to interpret the Constitution. Second, the Supreme Court has ruled that the core or basic principles of the Constitution cannot be changed by the Parliament. This limits the power of the Legislature to amend the basic structure of the Constitution. Third, the courts can determine the constitutional validity of any legislation or action taken by the executive. This means they can review laws to ensure they do not violate the Constitution. Fourth, anyone can approach the courts if the public interest is hurt by the actions of the government. Also, the judiciary acts as the guardian of fundamental rights. Anyone can approach the courts if their rights are violated. These powers ensure that the judiciary can act independently to protect the rights of citizens and uphold the Constitution. In this video, we have understood the three important political institutions in details. These three institutions are considered important pillars of democracy. The legislature make laws. The executive implement laws. Judiciary review laws to make sure that these laws are valid and ensures that laws are implemented correctly by executive. The notes of this chapter will be uploaded in the video description. Thank you for watching this video. Follow, like, and subscribe to MapAcademy channel to watch more such educational videos.